Internet, and welcome to episode 83 of the Comic Watchers Show. I'm your host, Matt. With me, as ever, are my trusty co-hosts, Nick and Mike. Gentlemen, how are you this week?
I'm good. Got my power back on after about a 9.5 hour stint. Thank you, trees, for taking out power lines here in the Eastern Shore. But other than that, I'm good. I'm good. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. I've kept power, so that's good. Doing a lot of reading, so not bad, right?
There you go. Matt, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm busy as hell at work, working late hours, which is suddenly very unusual, but otherwise all is right in the world of Matt. Perfect way to go into the Memorial Day weekend.
There you go. There you go.
So we've got a pretty awesome episode this week. We are going full on zombie apocalypse. We're going to review DCeased, Unkillables 1, 2, and 3, plus Hope at World's End, and Year Zero, #1 from AWA. Rock on. I can't wait to get into these books, you guys. But first, as ever, we have news with Scoop Johnson.
News by your man Scoop and everyone else. Anyway, we're going to run through this here. Not a whole lot to run through, but some pretty juicy tidbits for you guys out there. From Boom Studios, we got Wind coming from James Tynion IV and can't pronounce. I'm just going to skip that. I apologize. Anyway, introduces readers to a world where magical heritage is punishable by death. So this looks pretty good. It's definitely something that, being from Boom, that I'm probably just going to check out because I love the stuff they tend to put out. That's on the website as well. Wind is forced to leave his home behind to embark on a dangerous quest that will put him at the heart of a royal conspiracy beyond his imagination. So if you're a fan of James Tynion, a lot of people are, definitely worth checking out. I got the preview and everything on the website. Switching over to Marvel. The Marvel Comics app, continues to provide content through their Hidden Gem digital exclusive collection. They got some of the 90s collections up. They got titles such as X-Men Weddings, Hulk versus the Avengers, just to name a few. Head on over to the website because the list is just too numerous to name here, and we want to get to reviewing those books for you guys as well. So definitely check those out. And let's see here, Scout Comics, the recount, and no jokes about the 2000 election. But anyway, so the gist of that one is when the U.S. president is assassinated by one of his own security details, a Secret Service agent named Bree Bartow must protect the vice president at all costs from a mass conspiracy group called the Masses.
I thought you were going to say they were called the Hanging Chads.
Thank you for tuning in.
20-year-old reference.
Anyway, so this book looks really good. We got, of course, head on over to the website, check out the preview and that. The art on that looks kind of it's like spooky. I think if you were to see the cover of it, definitely wouldn't think, it's definitely one of those, don't judge a book by the cover type of things. But Scout Comic tends to put out a lot of good stuff, so that's definitely worthy to keep an eye on and check out as well. I'm gonna wrap it up with some DC news. Got some big stuff coming from DC over in Burbank. So we're gonna start off with some Pride Month stuff coming from DC, and the digital subscription service. Got Catwoman by Ed Brubaker, got The Flash by William Messer-Loebs, and the unforgettable 2018 smash hit Exit Stage Left, The Snagglepuss Chronicles by Mark Russell. So a bunch of GLAAD award-winning titles. So go on over and check that out, and celebrate as well as if you do or if you don't, check it out. Still some good reads. Some somber news. Harley Quinn is ending after issue 75. That's kind of weird. Maybe we do a show on this book. I don't know. Maybe.
Ooh, I think we should for Nick.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Because he's been the vocal champion of Harley Quinn and Sam Humphries and what's been going on in that book. I think we could do a Harley Quinn in memoriam type of thing in a couple months.
And we should, because if I could, sneak in, 2 turtle themed shows on you guys, I think we can do 1 Harley show for next. So there you go.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I'm a team player, if anything else. But no, that's a bum. I've really enjoyed that series. And so I don't know. It's always weird, I think, when they end Harley. I don't know. It's just
I mean, she's coming back. Sam Humphries pretty much said in the announcement that Harley's going to another creator, and then she'll be in good hands, and the future's exciting for Harley, but it's still ending, and that still makes me so sad.
Yeah, and the thing is, and to kind of hit on that really quick, that's the thing about comics that always drives me crazy is, instead of sitting here and switching creative teams, which I get it, right? Contracts end, and maybe the company just wants a fresh voice. I totally get that part. Why not just do Harley Quinn 76?
Yeah.
Don't come back and do Harley Quinn 1 or Harley Quinn Reloaded or Harley Quinn Rebirth or Harley Quinn goes to the library and then gets reborn again. Just Harley Quinn 76, keep it going. Yeah. You hit issue 150, then you can sit here, okay, you know what? Let's take it back to a 1 and maybe do a retelling. But you're 75 in, and you're going to sit here and start over at 1. Anyway,
that's a whole other rant. And I agree with you.
That'll be for the show after the Harley Quinn show.
No, I think it'll be part of the Harley Quinn rant. I assure you.
We can do the 3 old guys yelling at clouds and how comics screw up numbering. Anyway. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with the DC stuff. 80 years of the Green Lantern. They're doing the 100-page spectacular here, folks. Just like the Robin, Catwoman, Joker. It's the Lantern's turn here, and this looks really cool. We got the whole lowdown on the website, and we are going to run through the variant covers that they have had. They're going to have. I'm sorry. For this book, and they all just spectacular, gorgeous looking covers. Excuse me. So the 40s is covered by Nicola Scott. The 50s is Matt Taylor. The 60s is Doug Mankey. 70s is Neil Adams, as if that's not the perfect marriage. If you're gonna write the Green Lantern, it's Neil Adams. 80s is David Finch. 90s is Philip Tan. The aughts are Ivan Reis and Eau Claire Albert. The 10s are Jim Lee. It's always good to see him finally getting work. Jim has struggled, Good for Jim. Scott Williams and Alex Sinclair are going to do your 2010 variants on this book, which is really good. Like I said, the whole shebang is on the website. Definitely take a look at it. What's that?
June 29th? That ships June 29th, I believe.
Yes, we're not.
Yeah, of course, the original was supposed to have shipped this month, but everything happened that's happened. So new release date, but it is coming. So
it looks really, really good. Cool. I think this will probably be the first one that I'm probably going to end up picking up multiple variants of, just because the artwork on these covers, spectacular, so great. And other than that, unless you gentlemen have some wait.
Yeah, we got to talk about DC film news.
We do.
My goodness. Stargirl made her debut on DC Universe and the CW this week. I don't know. Did you guys watch it?
I didn't. I want to watch it. I will watch it. I may maybe this weekend. Got that long weekend. So definitely want to put that on the docket as well. Finally, watch the Bloodshot movie, but that's a different show from a different time.
Yeah, we don't do that Valiant stuff here. I got to tell you, a quick pop-up review. I really enjoy Stargirl. It definitely does skew towards a younger audience than we're accustomed to seeing from Berlanti shows. Sure. And because of that, it feels different and feels like a breath of fresh air. And but there's enough JSA catnip in there to keep me happy. So totally dug it. It's tonally the very opposite of the next show we're going to talk about, which is Batwoman, which series star Ruby Rose very suddenly exited the role. Kind of coming out of the gate. There's not a lot of detail. It allegedly had to do with her, the time demand of the role being too much for her. I don't know. I feel like the story is incomplete.
Yeah.
But they're not canceling the show. They are going to recast the role. So, Batwoman fans, don't despair.
Yeah.
And then last from the film world of DC, we've got, believe it or not, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, the Snyder Cut is getting released.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm excited.
The father is
it
happy.
good.
Mike,
What?
the Rob father is extraordinarily happy.
Yeah, I'm just.
Years of fans bitching and whining about releasing the Snyder Cut and hashtagging it finally paid off, and they were successfully able to wage a pressure campaign on Warner Brothers to release the Snyder Cut. It will debut next year on the HBO Max app. The studio is spending anywhere from $20 to $30 million reportedly to do digital effects, rescore some scenes. They're even bringing in some of the original actors to reshoot some scenes. So it's allegedly going to be 4 hours long, which I just tell you, it's probably that because it's 85% slow motion because Zack Snyder. If you're a Zack Snyder fan, this is probably the biggest news of the week for you. For the rest of us who had no desire to see any more Zack Snyder crapping on the DC verse, I guess I'll watch it out of morbid curiosity, but I don't think it's gonna be good.
I will just wait till it hits Blockbuster and then go see it.
There is that one Blockbuster left out there.
Yeah, maybe grab some of the microwave popcorn right before you get to the register. Grab a tape Friday night and watch the Snyder.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be better than whatever it was that Whedon and Warner Bros. Tried to pass off in the theaters.
It can't be too much
I
work.
think it'll be more consistent.
Yeah, it's.
I mean,
I think it's gonna be
I agree with you on that, because whether or not you like Justice League or not, like Snyder and Whedon have two completely opposite filmmaking styles.
Yeah.
Like, of all people to come in and try to finish a Zack Snyder movie, Whedon was not the choice.
Right.
I think this is not going to paint a very great picture for Warner Bros. Oversight in all of this, and in the end product they ended up trying to put out to theaters. And I think the movie is still, people are going to probably have the same opinions on it, but it's going to be I think it's going to split into like 6 different parts. So it'll be...
Yeah, that was another rumor, is it was going to maybe be like 6 30-minute installments or something instead of a 4-hour movie. But
they're going to go for that binge series style.
Yeah. But
it'll work better.
Either way, Zack Snyder's original vision for Justice League was part 1 of 2.
Yeah.
And they didn't get a part 2. I'm sorry, that movie lost its ass.
Exactly. That's the thing, is this is still not a finished story. There's still supposed to be more to the story, and that's never going to happen. So what's the end game here?
I mean, the end game, and what happens if this kind of bombs and derails again? I want to say bombs as bad, but I mean, what happens then? I mean, all these guys want to release the Snyder Cut. Well, we released the Snyder Cut, and it ended up in the $5 bin at your local Walmart and didn't even go to tape. So there's your Snyder Cut on a movie that released again.
HBO Max is about to get so many subscribers from this, just for this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Easy business move. I get it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, that free trial is only 7 days. I mean, you can watch this movie in 1 day and then, not renew. So, but I mean, it is what it is. And like, Matt said, I mean, if you're a fan, you're a fan. You're waiting for this. If you're like 98% of the rest of the world, you're probably going, yeah. I can sense the hate mail coming into the show right now.
Hey, if it gets us views, I'll be happy to bring a bottle of whiskey and really go off on it. but maybe another.
I think the actor of Cyborg is like the most excited. I think he was the first to really push for a release of Snyder Cut. So I'm happy for them. They're probably glad to see it finally come out.
And who knows? I mean, I'll be the first one to eat crow if it does great and it shows better than the first one. Sure, throw some A1 sauce on the crow and
yeah, there's just not a lot to be gained from this.
Right, there's really not.
Unless you're a Zack Snyder fan.
Yeah.
So anyway, so last little piece of news. We at Comic Watch have begun a new feature. We started voting internally on a book of the week to kind of hype up and promote. And this week it was Year Zero, #1 from AWA, which coincidentally is our first review for the week. So we're talking about Year Zero, #1 of 5, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Ramon Rosanas. It is a zombie tale, but it is a zombie tale on a macro scale. So it's the opposite approach of The Walking Dead. It focuses on people's reactions globally to this, to a zombie outbreak. It focuses on 5 key characters in very different parts of the world and kind of their initial responses to the outbreak. There's a prepper and a street urchin in Mexico. There's a Japanese hitman. There's 2 others, guys. Help me out. I don't have my copy in front of me. But anyway, you got a wide cast of characters, and they're all from very different walks of life as the zombie apocalypse breaks out. So this was just a welcome surprise. Benjamin Percy, of course, has been on fire lately over on X-Force and the 2 issues of Wolverine that have gotten to come out so far, whereupon Wolverine fights vampires, which we didn't talk nearly enough about when we reviewed issue 1. And forgive me, Nick. But guys, what Nick? Let's just roll with you first. What did you think about Year Zero?
I really enjoyed it. It's always great to pick up a zombie story that feels like it offers something different. There's a lot of zombie stories out there, so you kind of take them with a grain of salt these days. And I think this one really stands up. It's a great, highly executed comic. I think this is something that they understand the page turning elements of it. It doesn't really lean too much into the horror, and I don't think that's really what it's trying to do. There's a lot of theological questions happening in this, and I think the grounded approach to it is something that works for the genre. Zombie stories have really become point of view lately. I think that's a shift in kind of how these stories are being told, where you've got a pretty large ensemble cast of characters, but it still stays character driven and staying in their focus. And this one does a great job telling a bunch of different stories, but still weaving them together in a way that feels cohesive. It doesn't feel like it's just a bunch of one-shots crammed together, which I was really worried about reading the description, because that's a harder thing to do in transition in comics rather than something like a TV series like Black Summer on Netflix or something. It's a little easier to pull off that different character-driven approach to it and kind of bounce around like that. But this one does really well, and I think it sets up a really cool premise, and just the diversity and the depth of character that they have. I'm immediately thinking of all the different character dynamics that are going to happen, and what the apocalypse means for these certain people. But the artwork's great. I don't think it's anything, honestly, that stands out on a level that I haven't seen before in horror. I think there's maybe it needs more time to breathe in that in that level. There's not a lot of chances for it to shine because it's just kicking things off, but it does enough, I think, in the character work to pull me back in, and I'll definitely check out the next issue.
Awesome. Mike, how about you? What'd you think?
I think this was great, and I to kind of piggyback off of Nick real quick, especially with zombie books, you're automatically rolling your eyes, right? Oh, here we go, another zombie book. But the analogy that I make numerous times on the show is the hamburger, right? Zombie stories are like hamburgers, right? You have McDonald's hamburgers, which are okay. They'll do when you're hungry. But like your mom and pop joints, or say like, like Five Guys, if you guys have ever been to a Five Guys, those are really great, right? And so I kind of think that's what Year Zero is. Year Zero is kind of kicks off as it's going to be a great story. It doesn't seem like it's been retold. I like the fact that it takes that different aspect of the individual stories and what they're going through, rather than automatically people are running from zombies. Oh, something happened. Oh, the military did this, or the government did this, or someone went fishing and fell into a dirty pond or something like that. It was good, and it doesn't start off as trying to be overtly gory. There's not blood splatter on every panel. It really builds up, and I think it almost reads like, I don't know if you guys ever watch like horror movie anthologies, but kind of where you have different stories that kind of start intertwining into one thing. And that's what this kind of reads like to me, to where I'm almost willing to bet by issue, 3, 4, maybe, we're going to start seeing maybe people run into each other in some deserted town or some deserted area, which is great, because this is I think issue 1 really has a great this book really has a great creative team that did a really great job for setting everything up from issue 1. As being the flagship book for AWA, I don't think they could have done a better job on this book. I think this really is just a great book. It's a great zombie book. And I think, Matt, I think you said this in chat, where you wanted this to be like a regular series. Like, I don't want this to, I know it's going to end. I don't want this to end, and it's just like, I don't feel like these limited issues that we're going to get is going to really be enough for this creative team to kind of get their teeth sunk in to the story. But this book, highly recommended. It may be Comic Watch's book of the week. Read it for yourself. It's definitely going to be your book of the week. Pick it up. Definitely. It's awesome.
So, yeah, I'll just start off and say my only complaint about this book is that it's only 5 issues. With so much setup and world building going on just in the first issue, there's no way this story is going to conclude in 5 issues. No way.
Right.
So, assuming, AWA continues to remain successful and profitable, I assume we'll see future miniseries installments, although I don't know why they wouldn't just make it a regular, but, I'm not Axel Alonso, so who knows? So I read this comic, and the first thing I thought of was Jaws, because the trick to Jaws is you don't see the shark. The shark is omnipresent, but you don't see it until the very end. And because you don't see it, it becomes that much more frightening because it builds up in your imagination. That's the exact trick that Benjamin Percy pulls with zombie in this issue. There's not a single zombie here. You don't see a single one. You see the aftermath of some zombie attacks. There's some panels that, people stumbling into blood and gore and not knowing what the hell is going on. But there's not a single zombie scene in this comic, yet their presence is felt everywhere. And I thought just from go ahead.
There's the last 2 pages. I don't want to spoil much. You technically...
Okay, you're right. Okay. They don't show up to the last 2 pages. You are right. My mistake. I got going and... Fire me, Fox. No, don't. But I mean, for the majority of the issue,
To your point, it's not in the main story. In the main story that you're reading, they're not present. Like, it works on those rules almost.
Yeah. Right. Like our Japanese assassin. He's up in this high-rise apartment. He's got his sniper rifle. He's looking down his target through his scope. Something behind him distracts him. By the time he looks back through the scope, the people that he was going to shoot have been massacred. He has no idea what's going on, and it's great. And every scene in this book is more or less constructed that way, and without feeling like it's repeating itself.
Yeah.
Which is key. Something you were saying, Nick, is got me to thinking like how different authors, and Bendis comes to mind in this regard, might have chosen to spend like an entire issue on each character, getting to know them and setting them up. And then by the time you're at the end of issue 5, you're just like, oh my God, is this story going to go anywhere?
Yeah.
And because of the way that Percy didn't do that, and he does shorter scenes with these characters, the pacing is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it just jumps from one scene to the next pretty smoothly throughout. The art, it's solid. Reminds me a little bit of Wilfredo Torres, or oh crap, I just went blank on his name, but the guy that drew The Vision with Tom King. Shouldn't have brought him up if I didn't know his name. You guys know who I mean. Similar kind of minimalist style, and it works. It's very serviceable. It's not too splashy, and because it's not too splashy, it kind of keeps the story itself at a relatable human level, and I really liked that. So,
and I think there's something that in the description it says it's a global look at the zombie apocalypse, and I think that's something we don't really see that much in a character-driven angle, because it's usually a group of people who are physically together. Right. They, like Mike said, they're going to find a way to meet up. I'm not so sure these are all going to find a way to meet up. They're kind of scattered all around the globe.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's a really expansive way to look at it, and like you said, it's really fast-paced too. So they've got. I think that's where it finds that fresh element for zombie storytelling, and that it's such an expansive story, and it still captures that really grounded character-driven element. Like, if these characters don't come together at all, how can this story continue to develop? Yeah. And I think that's where the question is.
Yeah, me too. World War Z had a global look, but it was about one character.
Yeah,
and the book itself reads a lot more like a travelogue than a traditional story. Not by any means, it's just an observation.
No,
but this is the first AWA book that I've read, and so far of their minimal releases that just really knocked my socks off and lived up to the company's hype. Tried Archangel 8, didn't work for me. Read like Ennis Punisher fan fiction. The Resistance. Sorry, I've been burned too many times by Straczynski, but that's a whole nother rant. But this was solid through and through.
Absolutely.
Very high production values. I feel like with this book, AWA is finally putting its money where its mouth is, and they've got my money. I'm gonna buy the rest of this miniseries.
Yeah.
So you have to. I mean, you're invested this far in. You might as well just travel on down the road.
Well, I don't know if one issue could be considered as invested. I've read many one issues and been like, nope, done. I assure you. But this is what you want in a first issue.
Oh, definitely.
It grabs you right away, right on the first couple pages, and you get to the end of it and you're like, oh my God, I want the next issue now.
Yeah.
So, guys, any final thoughts on Year Zero, #1?
Buy it. Read it.
Check it out. You can check out a preview on their website too that's got like really cool stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So now we are jumping over to the zombie apocalypse a la DC. Talking about DCeased Unkillables, numbers 1 through 3 by Tom Taylor and art by Carl Mostert. And then this week's surprise drop on DC Digital, DCeased Hope at World's End, also written by Tom Taylor, art by Dustin Nguyen. Unkillables takes place kind of in the middle of the original DCeased series. It focuses on predominantly on the villains of the DCU, but also the Red Hood, Cassandra Cain, Jim Gordon are all along for the ride as well. It has to do with this very disparate group of survivors, led, at least initially, by villains coming together and trying to survive in a world where everybody is turning into a quasi-zombie thanks to the anti-life equation. So let's go there first, guys. Unkillables. Totally cool book. Very great companion to the original DCeased, which, quick plug, is getting its own official sequel this summer, I believe starting in July. Hell of a good story. But Mike, let's roll. What did you think about Unkillables?
Unkillables was cool. Definitely, I want to say better than World's End, because I think World's End had its own little place. But Unkillables was good. It was a pleasant surprise. I did enjoy, seeing Jason and Commissioner Gordon and everyone just kind of team up. And then as they, linked up with, Vandal Savage, and of course we're going to talk about the tree lobsters here in a couple minutes, but when they hooked up and they were, going with the orphanage, and those three books just really led you on in a good way. They really great page turners. And I must say that the end was a breath of fresh air. And I don't want to spoil it too much for maybe folks haven't, read it. So I'm going to kind of, half step.
Well, I will say the end of Unkillables does answer a implicit question from the end of DCeased without getting into spoiler territory.
Right. Like,
so it is. So I mean, it is. It's not just a throwaway. It's not just a cash grab. If you're invested in the grander DCeased narrative, you do need to read this.
Right, and for me, that's what, as I was going through it, and the bus scene, and I'm like, okay, what, please don't be the easy way out person, him, and I'm like, okay, it's not, it's her, for, non-spoilers, people that haven't, read it, but that was refreshing. And then obviously the last couple of pages when they're in that sanctum sanctorum, if you will, which I thought was really rad. But yeah, Unkillables was great. It was good. I mean, it had comedy in it, with Creeper and Solomon Grundy. And I mean, you got Backstab too. Yeah. Who would have thought, and Creeper's on the gurney, it's like, it's not going to be the first time, I got cut open and someone's messing with my intestines. Like, just little quips like that took it away from the blood, the gore, and the seriousness of the story. Probably my favorite part of the book is the Wonder Woman scenes, which obviously, spoiler stuff. I definitely don't want to, get too much into that, but yeah, the Wonder Woman stuff really was really good. I thought that was really well, just kind of in your face, and just like, wow, like, okay, she's done. Here we go. It was almost like a roller coaster ride. Make sure you're strapped in. But really good. At World's End, I'm going to say, I think it read more like a Jimmy Olsen type book. I mean, it was okay, but I think for it being digital, it was fine. It kind of just was like another extra piece to the puzzle. Maybe. I mean,
important. It is like part one of, I think, like a 14-part serial.
Is it that long?
Yeah. So there's a lot more to Hope at World's End than what the glimpse we got this week.
Which is good, because it definitely read like I lost a part to my jigsaw puzzle, and so I ordered a stray piece off of Amazon, and this is what Amazon sent me. It was a little off color. It didn't really quite fit, but it fit. But I'll take it. So that's what At World's End did to me. But overall, Unkillables, man, just really good. I mean, just really good. It's definitely that stuff that when they collect it and then you get like the extra art at the end, or you get like bonus pages and stuff, But this is the kind of thing that makes you want to buy that collected version of it. So not only you have a great story, but then maybe have like some behind the scenes art, behind the scenes sketches, maybe some interviews, you know, what have you. But yeah, Unkillables, really great stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, I really like the puzzle analogy. Actually, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit because I feel like Unkillables is when you find the face piece and you can finally click it in and the picture makes sense, and you're like, ah, that's really cool. Hope at World's End is like a border piece. That's a background that's a little harder to find, but still adds context. And I think that's something, you know, eventually you want to see the whole picture. If one piece is missing and you put it up on the wall, that's where your eye goes to. Right. And I think all of these are telling like such a comprehensive story. And man, Taylor's doing cool stuff. Like, gosh, this is such a cool series. I think for a zombie storytelling and DC superheroes, it's a tough mix. And how do you do, like I was talking about with Year Zero, that newer character-driven, you know, POV style, and DC finds their way into it with this. I had no idea that the first 6 issues would kind of lead into something like this, but it works really well. I think Unkillables basically asks, you know, what if the story was from the villain's point of view? And you get some anti-heroes in there, and it kind of builds on that idea. I loved the concept that I'll spoil a little bit. Issue 1 came out a few months ago, so you know you should read it. Deathstroke can heal past the anti-life equation. His healing or his regeneration kind of nullifies it, I guess. So that kicks off this like super intriguing story, like, oh, the cure, you know, patient zero type of thing. But it doesn't really end like that. That's not really where the story goes. It loses that focus a little bit. And that was my main complaint is, I guess now I need another series to see what's going on with this team of villains and anti-heroes who kind of assembled out of their ability to heal. And, you know, these guys or all of these people are the one that are left on Earth. And I think there's an awesome editor's note in like issue 1 where it shows everybody leaving Earth, and it's like, you haven't read DCeased yet? You know, you should read it. Like, it was like, if you haven't read that yet, you're going to be a little lost on this. But it's really cool. I think there's a lot of awesome moments. My personal favorite was seeing Joker strapped to the front of the Batmobile by, you know, Red Hood. Some of, like, even in that moment, it was like my favorite moment, but some of the artwork threw me a bit. Red Hood's mouth in that panel specifically, you can see that type of depiction of characters in the artwork. It works really well for zombies, like with Wonder Woman, how they're snarling and stuff. But that mouth also doesn't really work as well on the actual human characters that are working. And I saw that, but it makes the zombie scenes really cool. I think in issue 2 is when we get Wonder Woman versus Vandal Savage. And that's when I think that's where like the goriest moment, I think. You know, it's like so cool. There's so many scenes that are just really, really badass. And that's what I wanted out of this. I think it's Taylor tells a story that's really exciting, and it starts off exciting, and just when you think it's about to slow down halfway through, something happens and it gets exciting again. And then it ends on another note where you're just like, oh, I got to get up to the next issue. And it works. And I think this angle of really exploring all these different sides of this apocalyptic event translates over into Hope at World's End really well. And it's not quite as important. It doesn't carry the weight or the consequence that something like Unkillables does. But like I said, it's still a piece of the puzzle, and it's still putting important context around everything. Got 14 issues. I'll let one be kind of a primer for what's going on here and setting the stage for this method of storytelling and this delivery as well. So I'm here for it. I think it accomplished everything I wanted it to. And it's got some really cool artwork. Just really, really fun, exciting time, I think. One of my favorite DC events in a long time.
You know, one of the things that really works in Tom Taylor's script is the little character beats throughout. Like everybody gets just these little character moments that really brings a level of humanity to this amidst, you know, the destruction of the world. And character moments like that are what Tom Taylor excels at as a writer. I mean, bar none. Can't more than anything else. He's definitely a student of Jeff Johns in that regard. As far as Unkillables goes, I absolutely loved it, but I also loved the original DCeased, so that shouldn't surprise anybody, really. And I loved it because, like the original DCeased, it surprised me. You know, it was kind of hyped as, what are the villains up to during all of this? And I mean, that's it in part, but it's also this assault on Precinct 13 style, everyone's holed up in a building that's surrounded by bad guys, suspense thriller. As everybody, few remaining heroes and the few remaining villains wind up in this orphanage, trying to protect these kids and themselves. And it just works. You know, it's tense. Like the original DCeased, the body count is high, and we get awesome moments like the Team Tree Lobster. And this comes from issue 1. Vandal Savage is monologuing, and he's like, "Have you heard of the tree lobsters?" And everyone's like, "What?" And he's like, "The tree lobsters were thought to be extinct, and then they survived, and that's what we are, as tree lobsters." And this just becomes this running gag for the Creeper and Solomon Grundy that they're Team Tree Lobster. And the Creeper even makes a shirt for Grundy, which is hilarious. Yeah. But it's stuff like that that just keeps the story grounded and makes you care about these people, even in just a span of 3 issues. Certain beloved characters meet some pretty gruesome fates. Some earn it, or some deserve it, some don't. And there's like I was saying, this is not just filler. There's the stuff at the end is going to be consequential for DCeased too. So if you slept on this, but you planned on getting the DCeased sequel this summer, you need to get on it. As we hope at World's End, I'm a little bit lukewarm on it, like you guys were. Like, I feel less of the necessity of this story. It feels more like beating a dead horse, to be honest. And I mean, that doesn't mean that it sucked, but it doesn't do anything that DCeased or Unkillables didn't already do.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see as this story plays out, how this actually fills a narrative, the overall narrative, and proves itself to be, crucial piece of the puzzle. I wasn't super thrilled with Dustin Nguyen's art. I like Dustin Nguyen's art, but I don't think he was quite right for this project. I don't know. There's just something a little. He just doesn't feel like a right fit, for lack of a better, more coherent explanation. He draws a weird kind of super skinny Superman, not as much as John Romita Jr. does, but he just doesn't quite look right to me. That's my opinion. You might love the art. Right? It's cool. It's whatever. It's subjective. It's supposed to be. So, excuse me. Overall, I will probably wait until the inevitable trade to finish reading all of Hope at World's End, because it's Tom Taylor. It'll be worth it. No. But definitely hyped for DCeased 2 this summer. Yep. So, guys, any final thoughts?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. So much to read, and it's all pretty much worth it. Just read it.
Yeah, and I will say, back to my my burger analogy, that Hope at World's Ends is definitely that McDonald's version. It's not bad, but it'll definitely satisfy you if you're hungry. But like you said.
And let me just say, with comics slowly rolling back out, how great is it to be able to just sit down and talk about new comics that we read? I mean,
and new comics that are coming out.
We got new books. It's a slow rollout. I don't know if you guys saw Marvel's released slate for this summer, but they're going pretty light all summer. So I feel like it'll be, slow going, getting back to where we were before everything shut down.
Yeah,
but I mean that's good.
Yeah, which I think you definitely want to test the water before you jump in the deep end. I mean, for sure.
Well, not only that, but you got to be cognizant of, do people have money to buy comics? You don't want to be flooding, Marvel flooding 30 books in a week out onto the shelf that people can't afford and comic shops can't afford. Those guys are hurting too.
Yeah,
so it's good to see that everyone is being responsible with their kind of slow drip rollout on the new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that is our reviews for the week. Go buy these comics because they're awesome. And what better time in the zeitgeist to be reading zombie apocalypse stuff? So with that, I guess it's time to officially head into what have you been reading? What are you looking forward to? Nick, you're up first.
Ooh, yes. I guess it's a great time to plug Mutant Watch is happening. Great time to be an X fan at Comic Watch. So I've been brushing up on a lot of my X-Men reading. So I've just finished Messiah Complex and House of M. Very, very cool stuff. I've got Endangered Species coming in next. That is going to help kind of fill in some more of that gap going on. But I really liked House of M. I think Messiah Complex was the one that has, it's a lot more X characters. It's a little bit more in depth. And who doesn't love to see Cable carrying a baby around? But I think House of M, it felt a little bit more linear and cohesive for me. And that moment with Wanda, saying no more mutants, that's gonna stick with me. I'm not gonna forget that panel anytime soon. And
where she's breaking up into the little cubes.
Yeah, it's like
what you're talking about,
where it happens in House of M.
Okay, yeah. I got you.
Yeah,
it's a little bit later.
It's kind of the whole. I guess the entire series boils down to this one panel in House of M where Wanda says no more mutants, and then everything that happens after that. So that's kind of like where I've dug into for X-Men right now, and just kind of seeing where that takes me. It's been most of my reading. Probably going to take a break with Morrison's Green Lantern and go through the first volume of that one because I fell out right before the first volume ended. So I'm going to go through. I loved Liam Sharp's art so much in that. That makes it all worth it for me. So I'm definitely going to go back through it. It's hard to tell what's coming out these days. All the lists are very subjective, and when things happen or when something releases, it's half of what you thought was coming out. But if my list is right, what I'm looking forward to is pretty extensive. We got a new issue of Last God coming out. I'm a really big fan of the Black Label book from DC. We have, we've got The Plot #6, which I've always hyped up as probably the best horror series right now in comics from Vault. You'll be seeing that one on Netflix or HBO or something soon. Just, you heard it here first. It'll be a horror obsession that you'll definitely hear about. Frankenstein Undone, great stuff from Mignola happening. And I believe we have a new Exo Man-O-War from Valiant. You'll be hearing us talk about that on the Valiant Watch show. Getting my plugs in.
Okay then. Mike, how about you? What have you been reading? What are you looking forward to?
Been reading the Green Lantern, Green Arrow short series. Back from Green Arrow 76, going through that little stint, which I always think is cool because we see such a change in Hal from hanging with Green Arrow. You see almost just like this. He's like a new man. He's like a new person, going on the road trip across country, kind of seeing, he serves a great purpose with, from Oa and being a ring bearer. But I just like the way that Ollie kind of just teaches him, you're doing great, but there's just different ways to look at things. And I think it's just such a breakthrough through Hal, and just a great era in the Green Lantern, saga. As far as what I'm going to piggyback off of what Nick said, I don't know if this list is correct, so I'm just going to shoot off titles And you know what? Email us. Let us know the shows. If we're wrong, we're wrong. I don't know. But I do know the one that is definitely coming out on the 27th is Bog Bodies by Declan Shalvey. Image. And a little Easter egg. There might be some international guests coming on the show here soon. We're working through that. So keep your eyes posted on Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. If the list is correct, we should be getting Mercy 2 from Image. That's a really good book. I really enjoyed Mercy 1. Mark Andolfo is such a great artist, and she's just awesome. Venom 25 should be the end of Venom Island, so that's going to be really rad. And Amazing Spider-Man 43 should be coming out as well. Like I said, I'm going off of what might ship. I don't know, because my shop didn't get Wonder Woman 755, but I know it's out there. So, yeah, who knows? So we'll see. But, yeah, been reading that Green Lantern, Green Arrow stuff. And the only thing I know that for sure is coming out is Bog Bodies. Really super excited for that. And, even if just Bog Bodies is the only book that comes out, I'll be happy because it's still a new book. It's still new comics. Stuff is starting to ship. We're starting to see some type of normalcy. And hopefully everyone's local stores can start breathing a sigh of relief, man. Even if you can go in there and spend, $5-8 on some quarter bins or some dollar back issues, man. Go in there, put a mask on, put gloves on, wear a bodysuit, whatever they want you to do to go in there and patronize their business. Help them out, man. If they sell burgers, buy a burger. This show loves burgers and burger analogies. So Matt, what have you been reading? What are you looking to, man?
I gotta tell you. So I decided to start plugging some gaps in my X-Men collection. In around about 2000, Chris Claremont made his return to X-Men, taking over from Alan Davis, and it kind of bridges up to the period right before the Morrison Revolution in 2001. I'd heard some kind of not so good things about this run. I will be happy to tell you the art is beautiful. We've got Adam Kubert and Tom Rainey and Lionel Francis Yu. As for Claremont himself, well, if you weren't already a Claremont fan, this probably won't win you over. He was a bit past his prime. But if you were raised and cut your teeth on Claremont, this does kind of read like comfort food. So not the best comics you'll ever read, but, not without their value. As for what I'm looking forward to, I'm just keep right on with this X-Men groove. We got Marauders number 10 coming out next week. Easily the best book of the Dawn of X books. No doubt about it. And there's some good books in there. X-Force would be a very close second. But, Duggan is just killing it on Marauders. Absolutely fun. Standout book. I can't wait for that. Oh, I also, for things I've been reading, I got to do a plug because Savage Dragon 248 came out this week after a 5-month hiatus on the book. Eric Larson hits the ground ripping and running in the build up to the big number 250 in July, which we may or may not review on the show. I feel like we will. We're fanatics around here. We love Larson, and just very excited to see that book back. And also, if I can do a quick plug myself, we've got a new Mutant Watch podcast. Those of you who listened to our last episode where we did our roundtable on the X-Men, that was the unofficial liftoff for Mutant Watch. It'll be coming at you every 2 weeks. We'll be doing it exclusively live with our panel of experts. And not this Saturday, but and Nick. And experts plus Nick. And so the next episode is going to be May 30th. So check it out because we do love muties around here.
And pouches. Yeah, for sure.
And pouches and exposition dumps and bad Southern accents and Molson beer. All the things you've come to expect from X-Men, including a complete lack of coherent continuity.
We love it.
We love it. And we love you. Thank you very much for listening. This has been episode 83 of the Comic Watchers Show. Of course, we're part of the Comic Watch family. And just get out there, be kind to each other, support your local comic shops as best you can right now. I hope everyone's being safe. And we will all get through this together. Until then, we're here to fill your lives with mindless chatter about comics 1 hour a week. I'm Matt, this is Nick, this is Mike, and we are the Comic Watchers. Thank you so much for listening.